welcome you back to the Barber Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Brown, as usual, and today's a special day. A lot of times I have to write down what I'm going to say about the person ahead of time just to make sure I don't miss anything. But with this man, we have such a long-standing relationship of him doing so many big things. I can just like freestyle and know what I got to say. So we're talking to a self-published author. We're talking to a men's grooming spa owner, entrepreneur. We're talking to an educator. We're talking to a man that's just helping to push our culture forward. And I know I probably missed a couple things. I just thought those two off the top of my head.
It's all good.
You're right. Izzy, what's good?
What's happening, bro? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm enjoying this new space and all the transition that we're going through right now. Just taking that day at a time. That's it.
Absolutely. So you're originally from Chicago, if I remember right?
Northern Illinois, closer to Wisconsin than Chicago.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How long have you been down here?
Since 2000 and I think it was like the end of 2011.
Okay.
So like this December 2011 going into 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So a lot of what we see right now on Instagram and on social media and a lot of just the different things that you're doing in the industry, it's such a high quality, but we want to go back and see what really led you up to this point that you're at now and where you're going in the future. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you get your barber license?
I got my barber's license in 2013. I think it was like November 2013 or something like that.
Okay. So after you got your barber's license, you start working in shops. Mm-hmm. You start to develop a mindset of eventually publishing a book. Now tell us about your journey from being in different shops to why you wrote the book that you wrote.
Okay. Well, I guess even before that, just the desire to do my own thing, to be able to, create my own opportunities, to be able to, do stuff that was outside the norm. And then being from a small town, it was just kind of, that small town mentality. So everybody kind of thought the same, but then when you have that person that's trying to do something different, that's what pushed me to come to Atlanta versus being, back home. Everybody was doing the same stuff. Everybody was getting in trouble for the same, ignorance. And I just had to get away from it. So when I got out here, I kind of saw the way that people's minds were working and the different stuff that was going on. And it was still certain things and certain mentalities that I saw that were super reminiscent of back home. But then I gravitated more towards the progressives, more towards the shapeshifters, more towards the people that were actually trying to create some new norms. And the more I got around them, I started seeing okay, this isn't bad to be thinking the way I'm thinking. This is a good thing. I need to start thinking and kind of expound my ideas and really develop my brand and show people that I'm serious about what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was it like you got into the industry and you're starting to work at shops? What was your experience like as you got out of school and then started to begin to develop that brand in these shop environments?
It was dope because I was able to come, as up under the A1 team, A1 cuts. So that was a great time in the industry because it was right before social media really started popping. It was during the time that there were a lot of celebrity barbers, time that there was a lot of attention now shifting towards barbering, and it was becoming more cool. And then the area that I was in, it was so high traffic. We were able to build clienteles. We were all able to do really well. But that also exposed me to, figuring out what I wanted to really do in the industry. So it opened up my eyes to see okay, I love cutting hair, but I feel like there's more to this. And, once I gravitated more towards the grooming and started seeing the difference in the price points and the respect and the expectations and just, all that was to come with that, it just became a lifestyle. It became, something that it just became who I was. And then I became more groomed and professional. And I also just understood, if I wanted to do more in the career, then I was going to have to offer more. And those additional services changed my career completely.
So what were an example of some of the additional services?
Facials and scalp treatments and ingrown hair removal and, even doing full color enhancements instead of just the fibers, or even introducing the fibers. A lot of people jumped on the fiber wave a little bit later, but luckily I was in that group of people that were either working on set or working in production that had access to atomizers and hair fibers, and knew how to get the perfect lay and just different stuff like that. So again, like networking and your association is really important. The people that you surround yourself with are going to expose you to stuff that's going to help grow your business and your brand, and also your mentality. You're going to be able to think different than everybody else around you. So me surrounding myself with those people, like I said, that were celebrity barbers or people that were, doing big things in the industry, I was able to pretty much like pick up all the little scraps and put all the pieces together, and I created my own little plate, and it was dope, because then I was able to actually like do what I wanted to do versus being forced into a box. So
interesting. So you're working in the shop, and eventually you start to transition into being in a suite. What was the different dynamic in terms of being in a suite as opposed to working in a typical brick and mortar barbershop?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a couple different things, but I really started running my business from behind the chair as if it was my own shop anyway. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to practice. Like, what does that look like being the first one here, the last to leave, the person, mopping, sweeping, cleaning baseboards, welcoming people, passing out cards. Like, I really was adamant about building that brand behind the chair before I went and got my own building. And then when I transitioned into the suite, it really helped because I had those additional services, which pretty much compensated for the lack of walk-ins. Because in suites, a lot of people don't realize that you don't get walk-ins. So that little, 2 or 3 clients that might come throughout the week that are just walk-ins or that are shop clients, you really miss out on that money, and you got to figure out a way to supplement that income. So me offering products with all of my services, also the additional services that I was doing, and then the education created a whole nother stream of revenue. So I was able to really, really, excel in that space because, again, a lot of people weren't doing it. So it was like I really didn't have any competition. Then suites were becoming more, I guess, more relevant, but not as much to barbers. Yeah. So even me going into that space, I was the first barber in my salon suites. So I really set the standard for what that looks like for barbers in salon suites for them. So anybody after, they were like, well, shit, hey, we've seen Israel do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, if you're doing this, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work with us.
So I remember when you were actually in the first suite that you were in, we actually sat down and talked that time. This is when I first started, and I had the idea for the podcast. And back then, I remember at the end of it, and I don't know if you remember this, but me and you were just talking off camera, and I don't know if you said it or I said it, but it was like, yeah,
you want to write a book?
I'm about to write a book. And you're like, what?
Like, yeah,
no, seriously. I'm like, wait. So
I definitely remember that.
So tell us about your thought process, and tell us about the title of the book. Tell us where they can find it, all that stuff, because
that's just so happen to have one on deck.
what a surprise. Tell us about the process. Tell us about what where it came from.
Cool. So it's called Entrepreneur, What I Wish I Would Have Told Me, and it is a pretty much I consider like a blueprint on how I get through all of my entrepreneurial endeavors. It doesn't matter what it is. I could be about to start selling T-shirts. It's the same process every time, and it's just tapping into the intangibles. So like the energy, your network, the trust that you have, your relationships, the education, just like those things that you don't really have to spend money on, or that you've already spent money on, that you can tap into to
Yeah, you're back. You're good.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, those things that'll help you, grow your business fast, and that'll just allow you to get through all the adversity that you might be going through doing a startup process. Yeah. So yeah.
So where can they get the book?
So I mean, obviously you can go to the store. You can go to the exclusive experience right now. So that's there. You can also order it online, israelwright.com. I think it should be on exclusive.com too. And yeah, I'm about to actually do the audio version finally. Okay. Yeah, get that out there. So that'll be on Amazon. That'll be, everywhere for you to be able to purchase.
Absolutely.
And of course, we got another one on the way.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Of course. I mean, what a shock. I'm not
yeah,
surprised by any
man.
means.
Yeah.
So
So
what's interesting about that, just to kind of piggyback off of that story, is that, what helped to kind of grow our relationship, and this is for those that are watching, Israel's already mentioned network a bunch of times. And when it comes to networking, when we were both going through the book process, he would call me or I'd call him and I'd say, what do you think about this? Or
right.
what are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? So that really impressed upon me the fact that he was somebody who was genuine in the industry and wanted to just help the culture. And that's something that as entrepreneurs, that's what we have the podcast for. That's what we have all these conversations for. So we appreciate you kind of giving us that background. So moving forward, you start to get into education. You start to become an educator. What made you decide to start to get onto that platform of educating people with the next level learning and et cetera?
I mean, honestly, I think it was always something that I enjoyed doing. I just didn't know how valuable it was, or how valuable it could become if I was to put a lot more energy and effort into it. And then I started doing so, and I was seeing like, man, people actually need additional education outside of just going to schools. But I also was traveling the country, going to all these classes and expos and, barber battles and stuff like that. And I was seeing, I'm like, man, this is cool, but there's not a lot of education, and a lot of these people are missing out on a lot of these factors, whether it's professionalism, business structure, strategy, sales structure, team building, just different stuff that I'm like, man, this stuff is important and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about, being a six-figure barber, but it's more so how to cut hair to get that,
Yeah.
and I'm a big guy for the intangibles and concepts. So if I can give you a model and I can give you something that's going to work no matter what environment you're in, that to me is more valuable than you telling somebody, oh, well, you can, charge $100 for a haircut if you do X, Y, and Z. But if the environment is not conducive, or if you're unprofessional, or if you're always late, or if it's not going to make sense. But I can give you the things that are going to make sense no matter where you're at.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that to me is where I find a lot of value, and now I'm growing that out to it being its own business now. So we got the exclusive LLC, and yeah, we're about to go digital and all online. A new platform that we're recreating, that's going to give you access to education, not just in the industry, but in multiple industries, and just whatever that next level looks like from whatever professional. So
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm not even surprised because you've always been a forward thinker. So that's a good look.
thank you.
So now you've done the shop situation, you've been in the suite, you've been the book. Now you ventured into the learning atmosphere in terms of education. So now let's bring it forward to the men's grooming spa. Tell us about the brainchild behind that, just the thought process, just
Yeah.
an idea.
So with opening up your own, I mean, I think it's really important for you to obviously find your niche in it. It would have been very simple for me to open up a barbershop. That would have been nothing, but it wouldn't have spoke to who I was and who I had been, what I've been building my brand on. Just as far as it being exclusive and just providing something more than just a haircut. So I really listened to the market, and I consider my market being my clients. And what are they doing? What are they like? What are they enjoying? What are they spending their money on? And a lot of them would be like, oh man, I'm about to leave from here and I got a manicure appointment, or I'm gonna leave from here and I got to go get a massage, but I got to drive all the way to the other side of town. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't I just put that in one location, one stop? And then that really kind of sparked the idea. So I just started looking for locations, and I mean, I probably looked at about 10 locations that I thought were it. And, lo and behold, we came across a place that was already kind of being created for that same type of business model, but something ended up happening. It fell through. They weren't able to close the deal, and I had everything in order that I needed to at that time, and I was able to take advantage of it. So, that's where the exclusive experience men's grooming spa was born.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations in regards to it, to say the least.
Thank you.
How has COVID-19 adjusted any of your business models, or with the grooming spa? How has that presented? How have you been able to overcome any challenges with that, I should say?
I mean, obviously pivoting, so instead of just like the full men's, we also offer women's services now too. So we kind of are catering more to the whole experience, like the full experience, with men and women. So we'll do manicures and pedicures for women as well. We'll do, facials for women as well, and almost it being like that space that everybody feels comfortable coming and getting services. Women will walk into a barbershop and feel uncomfortable. That might be like a hair salon and a barbershop because of how the barbers might, treat them or respond to them or whatever the case may be. Or vice versa. Men might feel uncomfortable going to a nail salon, getting a manicure and a pedicure with a salon full of women. So we created that space to where everybody feels comfortable being in that one central location and they can get everything they need from manicure, pedicure, facials, massage. We got colognes, perfumes, we have wines, we got champagne, yeah, mimosas on the weekends. I mean, it's a good spot. It's a good space to be in. And then we also do events, classes, and workshops. So we do a lot of stuff that's catered to the community and also just like the people that come in. So we're working on a couple of things in December too. Hopefully we're still able to get out and be active, just despite what could possibly happen with the spiking in COVID. But we're still pushing forward regardless. You got to.
So we've just got two more questions left for you, for our listeners. So if you were to speak to either a student who's in school or an apprentice in the shop, somebody who's kind of just starting out, what would be, I mean, I know you got 100 things you could tell them aside, because you would just tell them buy the book.
Right.
But give them a couple words of wisdom or advice as they're kind of starting their journey.
Well, I guess I would do, let's say 3 things. I'm big on 3s.
Okay.
So the first thing would be to, be overly dedicated to this, because it is going to allow you to, I always say this about barbering, like it's the best profession in the world because you're able to connect with so many different people at so many different levels. And, people essentially pay us for the information that they give us. So, the people that are sitting in your chair, they could be doctors, they could be lawyers, they could work at the health department, they could be accountants, whatever the case may be. And if you're able to have intentional conversations behind the chair, they're going to tell you stuff that they typically would charge for. And then they pay you at the end after you provide the service. So, I mean, it's a super dope dynamic, but if you're not intentional behind the chair and you're not dedicated to being a professional and you want to hustle through this, you're not going to get everything that you're supposed to. So, that would be my 1. 2 would be focus on being the best or better business versus just being the best barber. And I think that's something that a lot of barbers are worried about so much, is like, oh man, I want to, be the best barber and I want to be the best in the city. And, I want to do these hair shows and all that, which is all well and good. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand the business behind it, it's going to stunt your growth. So it doesn't matter how good of a haircut you can do. You probably aren't charging enough, or, you might be late on all your appointments, or you might, not have the level of professionalism that you need to have to be able to upsell or upcharge, or you don't have product knowledge and stuff like that. So, it's really important for you to just learn the business part of it just as much as it's important for you to learn how to cut hair and be a barber. And then 3 would be, let me see, what would my 3rd one be? Investing in yourself. Don't be cheap with yourself when it comes to the profession, because, a lot of barbers will, have old clippers or old trimmers, or, they don't buy new combs or not buying Barbicide and stuff like that. Like, it's part of the business. Again, it's just part of the business. Don't be cheap. You cannot get, to that next level if you're not willing to put money into something that you're saying that you're serious and want to be professional about. If you go to a doctor and he's using stuff that, is 30 years outdated or 20 years outdated, or something got handed down to him, you're going to look at him crazy. Like, all their stuff is professional, sterilized, it's up to date. It's, but that's why there's a hierarchy in like some professional, because we work obviously on that level as far as being doctors and dentists and all that, bloodletting. But over time, it's just like the level of professionalism has decreased to an extent, just because people aren't really valuing it as much as they should. We do a lot of stuff that they do, whether it's dealing with blood, dealing with, toxins and bacteria and funguses and all that. But, if you've got that $20 mentality of just doing that or trying to still be the best barber, you're going to miss out on a lot of, opportunities that you can have in this industry, because it's amazing. It's the limitless opportunities. I've done some stuff that I never thought I would do just because of barbering. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Just because I could cut hair. So, yeah.
Our last question. A lot of times we say that we have short-term and long-term goals. So short-term goals can sometimes be measured in 3 to 5 years. Long-term, maybe 8 to 10 years. Let's go with a long-term goal for you. What is your long-term goal? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I don't even know. Man, it's very hard for me to think that far, because even looking at
we can go with the 5-year one if you want.
Yeah. Cool. Let's do that. Cool. So 5 years, definitely plan on having the platform like on a completely different scale. Like I almost compared it to like a Netflix type situation, to where you can go and get consistent content all the time from different people. And it'd be from live streams to just different ways that you can tap into that. And it's got a lot of pieces to it. Like now that whenever I sit down with a team, it's always something that's new, that's just like, dang, nobody's doing this right now. So it's just figuring out new, different ways to stay on, track with something that we're creating. Like that's hard to kind of, when you're creating something, obviously you got a whole bunch of different thoughts. Then when you have a team, everybody has a whole bunch of different thoughts. So it's like, which one do we go with first? Which one is the most important? Which one is the one that's going to really catch the market by surprise? That's going to allow us to do it again and do it again and do it again. So that's how I look at it right now. And I think that's the most exciting thing for me, but that would be my 3 to 5 year. And then, obviously I'm diversifying. So I'm getting into Airbnbs,
and retired from the barber industry, as we saw the other day.
Yes, retired. So with that being said, just diversifying and finding different ways to generate that same money, if not more, with not having to do anything, essentially half the work and make double the money. So, yeah.
Well, Israel, I really appreciate it. For those that are watching, tell them the websites, tell them where they, tell them the location, tell them all that, so we can make sure we get it nice and clear for them. Okay,
cool. We'll start with the location. It's 1039 Grant Street, Southeast in Atlanta, Georgia. That's in Grant Park, at a development called The Beacon. And then let me think, the website, got 2 or 3 of them. So you can go to exclusive at soc.com, YIZCLUSIVE, and then you can go to israelwright.com. And then you can also follow us on all the platforms, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter, all that good stuff at The Exclusive Experience.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you being able to take the time out for us today. We know that you're a busy man, so we're looking forward to seeing some more of your content. I'm looking forward to continuing to see your growth. I'm proud of everything you've done. I'm happy to be able to have this time with you, and I'm probably gonna be picking your brain on something, if not later today, at some point soon.
Cool with that.
Yeah, so we can, so we can keep pushing the culture forward. That's what I like to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to your class too. I'm gonna try to peek my head in there. What is it, the 6th?
Yes, December 6th.
There we go. So, but yeah, that's what I got. I appreciate you for having me on, obviously, and all the help. You filtered a lot of your students through, my system, and I appreciate you for grooming them and making them, great, honorable, literally, that's really dope, man. That speaks volume for you bringing in people to get in a system of mine. I'm not easy to work with. I'm easy to work with, but my standards are high when it comes to the work, because my expectations are high, because I want everybody to maximize their potential. So, for you to be able to send some people through and they're actually standing up to it and they're able to adjust and they're able to actually live up to those expectations, that's really, really admirable of you. And that shows, you've been working with them. So that's what's up. Salute to you.
Well, I appreciate it, man. We're going to keep just trying to help people become entrepreneurs. And I appreciate it. So until the next time, we'll be seeing each other soon, somewhere, some platform, some event. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it, Israel.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today on the Barber Biz Podcast. Of course, brought to you by soc.consulting. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below as well. We've also got one up top. Make sure you don't miss it. So if you like the content that you've been looking at, make sure that you continue to follow us. We've got more on the way. If you'd like to support our page, make sure you hit that Patreon link below to make sure that you keep getting exclusive content before anybody else does. Once again, thanks a lot for checking us out at the Barber Biz Podcast and Home Consulting.